Welcome to another episode of Roll Up a Poet. So get your bloods rolled and your Drake poured. Alright, now look. So for this one, this gonna be about the end of your sentence. You know what I'm saying? When it's time to get out of prison. So I'm doing this video because I didn't told y'all everything, about coming in there, going through quarantine, doing your time, you know what I'm saying, the gang banging aspects, the turning over, to Muslims, becoming a better person. Damn blunt went out. Ain't that a bitch? Turning over to the Muslim side, you know what I'm saying? Turning over to the freaky side. I done told y'all about everything in prison, you know what I'm saying? The stabbings, the tattoos, you know what I'm saying? I done told y'all about everything, right? Well, let me tell y'all about getting out. This video is strictly about getting out. You know what I'm saying? All right. Now, I gotta start everything from the top so it all makes sense. You know what I'm saying? So this is how you get to the end of the road to get out of prison. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna use me as an example, so that way I ain't just throwing y'all no old far fetched ass story. I'm giving y'all a real raw story on how I got out of prison. You know what I'm saying? All right. So this was 2014, right? The summer, maybe around April, May, something like that. I get out of prison February of 2015, you know, and it was a class that I had to take, you know what I'm saying? And it's called a violent offender program. You know what I'm saying? And with that class, when you have a violent crime, you had to take that class before you get out of prison. Or if you don't take that class before you get out of prison, the parole board gonna flop you when you go see them for a parole. What is a flop, Mr. Roll Up? A flop meaning you didn't meet parole board criteria. You know what I'm saying? So if you have a recommended class and you didn't take it on time before you went to see the parole board will flop you for it because you had to take that class before you could be released on parole. A flop means you got more time to do. Now, when you see the parole board and they give you a flop, you can get a 12-month flop, an 18-month flop, or a 24-month flop. You know what I'm saying? So they can give you in between 12 to 24-month flop, however they feel. So basically, if they feel like you wasn't in prison improving, they give you the longest extent flop, which is a 24-month flop. You know what I'm saying? And if they feel like, well, you probably did everything right, you just didn't take this class or whatnot, or you might have got into a fight, all right, 12-month flop. So meaning at the least it's gonna be another year before you get to go up in front of them again to basically beg for another chance to get out of prison. You know what I'm saying? So you don't want to get no flop. And that right there, not completing the class before you see the parole board is an instant flop. When it's recommended, you have to do that class before you see the parole board. And you see the parole board 6 months before your out date. You know what I'm saying? So I basically did all my time. I got about 8 months, maybe 8 to 9 months of prison left. You know what I'm saying? And I know I go see the parole board within the next 2, 3 months. And I still ain't took this class. Well, the prison that I was at didn't have that class. You know what I'm saying? I was at Adrian Correctional Facility. So basically on the Michigan map, right? This is the Michigan map. Detroit about right here. Adrian is down here, like down there at the bottom of the map where Michigan borders Ohio. Ohio down here, this Michigan up here. Adrian about down here, right? Well, that's where I was at. Adrian didn't have that class. So they had to ride me out to the next prison that had that class, which was in Lapeer. Lapeer is in the middle of the map. So this Detroit, this where I'm from. I'm all the way down here in Adrian prison doing my time, but it's almost time for me to get out. And the class that got, I mean, damn, the prison that got the class that I need is up here in Lapeer. Lapeer, about right here, about in the middle of the map, about next to Flint, somewhere around there. Lansing, somewhere around that area, you know. So I'm shooting kites to the police. Shooting a kite is basically you writing a letter to the police. Hey, I got to take this class. Uh, I'm in here getting beat up. I need you to move me out this room. My bunkie stink. He don't wash up. Get him out my cell. Blah blah blah. I need some more tissue. Blah 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 blah. It's called shooting a kite. So I'm shooting kites to the police, like, hey, y'all gotta, get my word out there to the system. Like, hey, let them know I gotta take this class so I can go home on time. You know what I'm saying? Man, it took them a while, but they finally answered me. And they just came to me. It was like, pack your shit. So they just ride you out all the time in prison. Like you just ride out all the time. It don't matter how long you been there or nothing. You could have been at a prison for 20 years and think you gonna do the rest of your time there. You know what I'm saying? They could ride you out that day. You know what I'm saying? On your 20th year. Or you could be there for 20 minutes and they could ride you out. They ride people out by the space that they need, things like that, so you could ride out at any point. It happens all the time. Well, just so happened with me, I did all my time at Adrian. You know what I'm saying? And I only rolled out because I had to take that class. Well, here I go. Now I'm riding out. They told me to pack my shit. They sent me to Lapeer, which is the next closest prison that had the class that I needed, so I can get out on parole on time, right? Now I didn't told y'all before. I was gang banging and all of that stuff. I had dropped my flag before I even left that first prison. You know what I'm saying? I just wasn't into that no more. I grew out of it. I was on my grown man. You know what I'm saying? Plus some, little situation happened and I just left that stuff be. So I just basically grew out of it. So I wasn't active no more and none of that. But I still had my respect. I was the second on the yard. You know what I'm saying? So I done told y'all before about this too. You know, um, when you ride out to a new prison, the guys that you was at the prison with, they can shoot messages to their people to tell they people at the next prison to let them know, like, hey, such and such on their way over there. Because all it takes is for the inmates to run down there to the police desk and they ask the police, like, hey, where dog ride out to? And the inmates would be cool with the cops. So the cops would tell them, like, yeah, he rolled out to such and such prison. And then the guy jump on the phone, call his girl or whatever, tell his girl to shoot the word to his man's girl, his man's girl shoot the word to him at the next prison, yeah, dog, blah, 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 on his way there. Like, your name follow you. You know what I'm saying? For real. Like it's crazy in there in prison. Like them guys connected. They in different prisons, but they got their girlfriends working with each other. So they seeing words to each other, prison to prison. So by the time you get to the next prison, they already know who you is before you even hit the yard. You know what I'm saying? Well, worked out for me. Cause by the time I got to Lapeer, you know what I'm saying? I get there. They told me I was there for my violent offender program. I'm like, bet that mean I get to go home on time. I was so happy. But at the same time, I was nervous. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm going to a whole new prison. I don't know what's going on here. I'm on my last couple of months. Any little thing can happen and I get jacked parole. You know what I'm saying? Man, look, when they rolled me out, right? Now I just told y'all this a couple videos ago. You know what I'm saying about the process you go through when you get to prison, right? And I told you you had to ride out in the paddy wagon, handcuffed together with a group of other guys. And when y'all get in the back of that paddy wagon, ain't no windows, ain't no light, no nothing. All of y'all just sitting in the dark, shackled up together. Well, guess what? When you ride out from whatever prison you at to the next prison, it's the same thing. So here they come again, shackling me up with a bunch of other guys, paddy wagging us, shot us to the pier. That was about, I'd say, maybe a 3 hour drive. Mind you, this is a paddy wagon. This ain't no Corvette. This ain't no Mustang. You know what I'm saying? This is a paddy wagon. So, they take their sweet time and everything. So this was like a 3 hour ride, you know what I'm saying, in the dark from Adrian to Lapeer. Well, finally touched down at Lapeer. They told me I was there for my violin class. I was happy. Came from a 3 hour ride in the back of a paddy wagon, not being able to see nothing, not being able to use the bathroom, nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like straight torture. Just to hear that I was there for my class. It turned everything around. I'm like, I'm going home. You know what I'm saying? So when I get there to the pier, they put me in the cell with a guy named Junebug. I did a whole video on Junebug. So you can go through my videos if you ain't seen it. I did a video about Junebug. You will see that name pop up. That's what I'm talking about. I did a whole video on him. Dude had a life sentence, and you wouldn't even believe it. You know what I'm saying? So if you want to know about him, go check that video out. All right. So they put me in the cell with Junebug. Me and Junebug get to rocking instantly. That's my dog. You know what I'm saying? After that, my name hit the yard because guys at the last prison I was at sent word to where I went to. So my name was already on the yard before I even got there. You know what I'm saying? So while I'm on the yard, maybe like the second or third day in, the GDs walked up on me. You know what I'm saying? They walked up, they was like, yeah, you little G, right? All right, now look, the name Lil G, right? That's my last name Little. I'm 6'2", 250 pounds. So when they found out my last name was Little, they like, man, this nigga ain't Little. You know what I'm saying? So it stuck with me. So it was a prison name. And when you a GD, they put a G at the end of your name. So my name Little G. You know what I'm saying? So the G's, they like, oh, you little G. Woo woo. I'm like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? They like, come in. We need to holler at you. So I already knew these was the family. You know what I'm saying? They like, we gotta holler at you. Woo woo. I'm like, all right, cool. You know what I'm saying? So we got to talking. I told them what I was on. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, man, I'm about to go home. I ain't on none of that. You know what I'm saying? They like, look, bro, we already know. You know what I'm saying? We know you the second. You good, whoop de whoop. We all for pushing you out. You know what I'm saying? So I was in gangster business, but I wasn't active. You know what I'm saying? So I'm good on the yard with the gang banging shit. I get to slide up out of here, do my time. You know what I'm saying? So I'm good on that. Bet. Well, on this yard, the GDs and the Crips is eight balling together. So we all shake hands with each other and we all do our shake together. You know what I'm saying? We eight ball. We put our shit together. You know what I'm saying? So basically, they business is our business is their business type shit. You know what I'm saying? So they was getting into shit. I was always involved, but I wasn't active, so I was never on the scene. And I made a video about the nigga Stun Hard Jew got stabbed up in that bitch. You know what I'm saying? And it was by the Crips. And I made a video about that. So y'all go check that out too. You know what I'm saying? So everything I speak on is because I witnessed it or I was a part of it. You know what I'm saying? Like real talk. So I was there for that shit. And mind you, this is about me getting out. You know what I'm saying? Like I was starting to see more shit during the time I was about to get out. You know what I'm saying? Then the time I actually did. Like it was crazy. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, I'm good on the yard with the game banging, all of that. I got my respect. They calling me the second, all of that. I'm good. You know what I'm saying? So bet I get to do my time. I do my class. I get to go home. You know what I'm saying? Well, about a month later, you know what I'm saying? Me and Junebug, we in that bitch rocking hard. You know what I'm saying? So while we rocking, doing our thing, Junebug hit me with the one. He like, little bro. He like, hey, little. Need to holler at you. Like, what's up? He came and hit me with the spud juice. I made a video about that. So if y'all want to know about the shit with the spud juice that almost jacked my parole before I went to see the parole board, go check that video out. You know what I'm saying? That I made about the spud juice, you know? So fast forward the tape on that. I went and did the hit with him. This was like a couple of days before I went to see the parole board. Like, no lie. I went to do this spud juice hit with him. Almost got caught with the shit and almost jacked my parole. You know what I'm saying? But guy came through. You know what I'm saying? I ain't had to tell on nobody or no dumb shit, no bullshit, nothing like that. You know what I'm saying? Just guy came through. You know what I'm saying? So that was that. Next thing you know, I went to see the parole board. They seen that I was taking the class. They seen that I turned my life around. You know, I had good things working for me. Now let me tell y'all about the parole board. The parole board worked like this. You know how when you catch your case and you come to prison, young, wild, and on that tip, blah blah blah. Well, the parole board expects you to do that while you in there. Be on all that loud, rah crazy stuff, acting up, gang banging, fighting, the stab, and blah blah blah. They expecting you to do all that when you first come in there. And then by the time you about to get out, they're expecting you to change, you know, become a better person, things like that. If they see that you don't get no trouble during your time, and when you go see them, they'll flop you and say that you tried to manipulate the system because you a criminal. How you just come in here and don't do no wrong, and then by the time you come see us, you just perfect and everything fine. But you was out in the streets doing all this crazy stuff. They hit you with manipulation of the system and flop you for it. So luckily for me, I came in that bitch tweaking just like how I was in the world. I was gang banging, I was tripping, I was always arguing with the police, I was getting ticket at the ticket, I was always on LOP. That's loss of privileges, meaning I was locked in my cell all day, all type of shit. Like I was bad as hell when I first came in there, you know. And then they slipped me a letter one day uh, to my cell. I read the letter. They said if I get one more point, meaning if I catch one more ticket, I'm going to level 4. So basically, meaning I'm gonna jack my parole, all that shit, if I get one more ticket. So I'm on eggshells, you know what I'm saying? So I had to tighten up. I gave up the game banging. I stopped being on tip. You know what I'm saying? I became cool as hell. Me and the cops, like, hey, we cool, woo, you know, like I ain't want to go to level 4. I'm like, fuck that, you know. So I turned it around. So by the time I went to see the parole board, boom, they granted me my parole because they seen me come in bad and leave out good. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I got my parole. Clutch free throw, man. Crazy as hell. So for the next 6 months, you know, because they mail you your parole letter like a month after you see the board. And they let you know, like, hey, we flopped you or we granted you your parole. So when I got my parole letter, I had like 5 months left. You know what I'm saying? So I'm in there just doing my time. I'm out the way. I skated. You know what I'm saying? Luckily, I was good on the yard. I ain't had to worry about nothing because, you know, when you get down in your last couple months, that's when it become the hardest. It's like people be testing you. You know what I'm saying? And you got to stick that shit out because if you don't, You know what I'm saying? You gonna fuck around and jack your parole. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you gotta let a lot of shit slide, everything. Like, man, I ain't even gonna lie. This ain't happened to me, but you would have to let a nigga smack you. You know what I'm saying? You would have to let that shit ride because if you do anything back, you gonna jack your parole. You know what I'm saying? Like when you got that parole, you would have to let a nigga smack you. You know what I'm saying? Again, luckily it ain't happened to me. So no, this don't apply to me. I was just throwing it out there like this the truth. You know what I'm saying? And the police not gonna look at it like you defending yourself. They gonna be like you fought back. You wasn't supposed to fight back. You know what I'm saying? So man, that time frame from getting your parole to actual out date, that's the hardest time of your time. You would probably think when you first come in there it'd be the hardest time. Like, no, it's real life after you get that parole. Because now you know for sure you going home. And on your parole, it show your parole date, the day you get out. So you know exactly what day you getting out and everything. And every day you get closer to that parole date and it get harder and longer. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the hardest time is the time when you getting out. That's the hardest time of your prison time. You know what I'm saying? So again, hopefully this scared the shit out of you. You know what I'm saying? So you don't even want to have to go there because this is what you had to deal with. You would think by the time you get your parole, your time be easy. Like, nah, that's the worst time. And you know when you getting out, so it's like every day you anticipating on like, man, I'm about to get out this day. I'm about to do this. I'm about to go here. I'm about to fuck her. I'm about to do, well, you know what I'm saying? Like you got all these plans, but you so far away. You know what I'm saying? Like with me, with my time, my parole was for February. So I missed that Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's. I missed all that shit. You know what I'm saying? And that was the hardest time because that was the family time. You know what I'm saying? And I had to miss all that. But I knew I was getting out, so it was, man, the timing was hard. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, my out date finally came. You know what I'm saying? Oh, before I reached my out date, they ended up moving me out the cell from Junebug to a cell with another lifer. He was an older guy, but he was cool as hell. He knew people from my hood, all that. We was good. You know what I'm saying? So me and him locked in. You know what I'm saying? And they moved me out the cell with Junebug behind that spud juice shit. But they didn't have no evidence on us. You know what I'm saying? So they just moved me out the cell. I was still in the same unit with him, but they moved me to another cell. You know what I'm saying? So the next guy they moved me in the cell with, by this time I had like 2 months left. You know, he was an old lifer, and me and him, we was good. You know, everything was everything. I walked my time down. I got up out of there. You know what I'm saying? And that last night before I got out, that was the hardest. That was the hardest day of my time. It seemed like that time would never end. You know what I'm saying? It seemed like that night would never end. And everybody was crowded around me, you know, slapping fives with me, you know what I'm saying, hugging me, man, I love you, blah, blah, don't come back, blah, 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 blah. And it seemed like the time was just dragging longer and longer. It was just crazy, man. You know what I'm saying? But that next morning came, I was up 5 a.m. They didn't call my name till about 9. You know what I'm saying? So 9 o'clock, I walk up out of there. I left all my stuff, my TV, my MP3 player, the headphones, whatever commissary I had left. I left all that shit to Junebug, and Junebug dispersed it however he did it. You know what I'm saying? I left everything, my shoes. I had everything in there, clothes. I had all that shit. You know what I'm saying? I left all that to Junebug because my lifer bunkie, he had everything plus more, so he wasn't tripping. You know what I'm saying? And Junebug had everything too, but he just hustled that shit I had. You know what I'm saying? So I left everything. I walked out of there clean slate. Now, when you get out, right, they hand you a box of clothes. It's your clothes that you came to prison with. So if you did 10 years in prison, that outfit that you came in there with, that's the outfit they gonna give you 10 years later when you get out.